to a lot of youth in different cities that you stopped at. What's your take, because I think you've been early on this, on, 21 Savage had the streets movement that he kind of has been promoting these last...
I don't even fuck like that. I am the streets, I love the streets, I come from the streets. I don't even know that pussy ass.
Bitch ass up. Stop saying my motherfucking name. Don't think cause a nigga trying to change that. Y'all niggas sit down.
Yep, you just heard 21 Savage snap after getting called out by the so-called Great Slime himself. And this messy beef clearly isn't slowing down anytime soon. This whole situation is heating up fast, and we're about to break down exactly how this clash started and why it keeps getting more intense by the day. Let's get straight to it, no wasting time. People online are already saying things could turn real ugly if this keeps escalating. So what actually set this off? The story has layers on layers, so let's rewind a bit and connect the dots the right way. To really understand this tension, you gotta look at what 21 Savage has been on lately. He's been moving city to city, speaking to young people, pushing a message about staying away from street life and choosing a smarter path forward. On the surface, that message sounds solid, and most folks respect anyone trying to guide the next generation in a better direction. But here's where things get complicated. When you come from East Atlanta, Zone 6, with real street history, and you start telling others to step away from that life, not everyone is gonna take it lightly. Some people feel conflicted, others feel challenged, and that's where the friction really starts building. It's like, who really gave anyone the right to tell the next person how to move in life, right? That's the big question people keep throwing around, and that's why this whole situation feels so tense right now. But here's the part a lot of critics skip over. 21 Savage isn't talking just to talk. This is someone who really lived that life. No exaggeration, no made-up stories. Back when he turned 21, things went left in a serious way. He survived being shot multiple times, and someone close to him lost their life that same night. That moment changed everything, and that's exactly where the name 21 Savage comes from. It's not branding, it's remembrance. That history matters when he speaks on anything related to the streets. So when he tells people to step away from that path, he's speaking from painful experience. He's seen too much loss, buried too many close ones, and reached a point where he wants to stop the cycle instead of feeding it. That message didn't come from nowhere. If you rewind back to 2013, when he was still deep in street activity, the losses kept piling up. He lost his brother Quaz to gun violence, then later lost his close friend Larry too. These weren't distant names. These were people he grew up with, trusted, and loved like family. Losing that many day ones back-to-back changes how you see the world. In his early music like No Heart and X, he openly talked about street life with no filter because that was his reality back then. But as time passed, the money came in, the fame grew, and the losses didn't stop. That's when the bigger picture clicked. He started realizing the influence he had, especially on younger fans watching his every move. His anti-street message wasn't random or sudden. It's been building for years and really picked up steam once he started putting serious work into the Atlanta community. That's when he really started putting action behind the message. First came the 21 Savage bank account campaign, where he was teaching financial literacy to kids from the neighborhood, showing them how money really works and how to plan ahead. Then he launched the Leading by Example Foundation, fully focused on uplifting youth from underserved communities and giving them real opportunities. But things really shifted once he stopped moving in silence. He started speaking louder in interviews and on social media, pushing the message directly to young people instead of just working behind the scenes. He wasn't sugarcoating it either. He told them straight up that gang life wasn't the answer. That loyalty to blocks and sets doesn't mean much when you look at the bigger picture of survival and growth. Now, how that message lands depends on where you're standing. Back in Atlanta, where 21 is really from, most people respected it. They watched his journey, they knew what he survived, and they understood he earned the right to speak on that life. But once he took that same message to other cities like Chicago, Louisiana, and California, the reaction wasn't so smooth. Some people respected it, especially older heads who already lost too much and seen how the streets end. But younger dudes, still active, felt like he was brushing off their struggle. And that's where the tension really started bubbling up. It started feeling to some people like he was saying their lives didn't matter, or like what they were going through wasn't real at all. That's why emotions started running hot, especially online, where words get twisted fast and intentions get lost. Now here's something important a lot of people forget. 21 and YB actually had history before any of this popped off. They were cool, showed mutual respect, and rocked with each other's music heavy. Back in 2019 and 2020, there was no tension at all. You could see them showing love on social media. No sneak shots, no weird energy. At that time, they were both at the top of the game, doing their own thing in different lanes, but still respecting each other's grind. No beef, no pressure, just two major names coexisting. But there's another layer people gotta understand. When the whole Lil Durk and YoungBoy situation started heating up, 21 was seen publicly leaning toward Durk's side. That alone planted quiet tension in the background, even if nobody was throwing shots directly yet. That situation matters a lot, so let's zoom in on it for a second. The Durk and YB beef isn't just music drama. It's deep, serious, and tied to real-life consequences that shook the culture hard. When King Von was killed in Atlanta, everything escalated instantly.
Rapper King Von and his group were at Opium nightclub before making their way here to Monaco Hookah Lounge, then to the parking lot where chaos ensued.
That moment made the situation heavier, louder, and way more personal for everyone connected, and it changed how every move after that was viewed. With all that going on, 21 being from Atlanta and being close with Durk put him in a tricky spot. He never openly dissed YB or jumped into the beef head first, but people started noticing subtle moves. Being seen around Durk at certain moments, light social media support here and there. All of that can look like choosing a side, even if that wasn't his intention. So now you've already got quiet tension sitting in the background. Then 21 steps out publicly pushing the whole leave the streets behind movement. To someone like YB, who's still deep in the middle of everything, that message might come off sideways. From his angle, it can feel confusing, almost like mixed signals, especially when street alliances are already part of the bigger picture. Now let's slow down and really look at where YoungBoy is coming from, because both sides matter here. YB is only 25, but he's lived through more chaos than most people see in a lifetime. He's survived violent situations, been locked up multiple times, lost close friends, and spent years fighting serious legal pressure. For him, the streets aren't something you can just switch off overnight. He's still dealing with open cases, real threats, and real loyalty to people who stood beside him when things were dark. When you're living like that, hearing someone say, "Forget the streets," can feel dismissive. It can sound like your reality is being brushed off, even if that wasn't the intention behind the message at all. That's where the disconnect really starts, and why this situation keeps getting more complicated by the day. From YB's point of view, it's like saying, that's easy for you to say when you already made it out and don't have the same problems I'm dealing with. That mindset matters a lot here. YoungBoy has never been the type to water down his message or play the politically correct role. He's always been raw about where he stands and what he represents, and that honesty is exactly why his fans ride so hard for him. No sugarcoating, no fake polishing, just straight truth in his eyes. So when YB gets asked about 21's anti-street movement in a recent interview, you can tell right away there's already emotion sitting there. The interviewer frames it as 21 trying to guide the youth early and push a positive message, asking YB how he feels about that. And that's when things took a sharp turn. YB didn't hold back at all. He flat out dismissed the idea, making it clear he didn't connect with that message whatsoever. He said, in his own words, that he is the streets, that he comes from that life, and that he stands firmly in it. He made it very clear he wasn't aligning himself with what 21 was promoting. That wasn't just disagreement. That sounded personal. It came off like a direct shot at 21's movement and the meaning behind it. When I heard it, even I was like, damn. That wasn't light talk or media fluff. And YB still wasn't done. He kept pushing the point, saying people misunderstand what survival really means to him. He explained that it's not about refusing growth or avoiding responsibility, but about staying true to the reality he's still living in. Then he dropped one last line that really shifted the whole vibe and sent this situation into overdrive. When YB said it was somebody else pushing their narrative and I'm pushing mine, that line said everything. Translation? He was basically saying, 21 doing his thing and I'm doing me, but with heavy emphasis on my narrative. That made it clear this wasn't some small difference of opinion. This was YB drawing a hard line, letting everyone know he's fundamentally against what 21 is promoting. Once that interview hit the internet, chaos followed instantly. Social media went into overdrive and people started choosing sides fast. Some were saying YB was speaking real truth, arguing nobody has the right to tell others how to live their life. Others were backing 21 hard, saying he's just trying to protect young people and keep them alive. Twitter was on fire. You had YB supporters calling 21 fake woke, claiming the positive message was more about image than substance. On the flip side, 21 fans were saying YB was pushing harmful energy and refusing growth. The back and forth got nasty quick, just like it always does when big names clash. But here's the part that really had everyone locked in. The timing of it all was wild. Right when people thought the situation couldn't get any messier, when emotions were already high and the internet was split down the middle. That's when 21 Savage decided to respond. And that move alone shifted the entire situation to a whole new level. Now this is where people really had to lock in, because what 21 said wasn't aimed at YB by name, but everyone from the streets to the timelines knew what time it was. The energy was loud, even without names being dropped. Let me set the scene properly. 21 jumped on social media looking tight, clearly frustrated, and started venting about people throwing his name around and speaking on street topics like they really knew his intentions. You could feel the emotion through the screen. He wasn't calm, he wasn't joking, and he definitely wasn't ignoring it. Officially, the response was aimed at P.Vi Foreign, who had taken earlier shots questioning 21's street credibility. But let's be real, the timing right after YB's interview made people raise eyebrows instantly. PVI's comments had been floating around, but they were small compared to the noise YB just made. So when 21 finally spoke up, people immediately started connecting dots and reading between the lines. 21 opened strong, basically telling people to stop using his name and assuming they know his path just because he chose growth. You could hear the irritation clearly. This was someone trying to move forward, getting hit from all directions for it. Then he took it a step further, and this is where folks felt like he was talking to more than one person. He laid out rules, saying if you're still moving reckless, don't lecture him about the streets. If you're grown and still stuck, chasing the same dreams you had as a teenager, don't question his journey. That part hit hard, because at that moment, it stopped sounding like a random reply and started feeling like a message aimed at anyone who felt challenged by his change. And that's when things really started feeling tense. That part alone could have applied to a few people, but then 21 said something that really made everybody stop and listen. That's when the tone shifted completely. He started addressing all the street talk around his name, making it clear people were getting way too comfortable speaking on him. He basically reminded everyone that just because he's moving positive now doesn't erase his past. He made it clear that the Savage name isn't just a rap persona, and that people already know the history behind it. That wasn't bragging. That was a warning, a reminder to not confuse growth with weakness. And then he doubled down. He made it very clear that just because he's focused on change doesn't mean it's open season to keep mentioning his name, dissecting his moves, or testing his patience. The message was simple. Don't keep poking someone who's clearly choosing peace, because that doesn't mean there won't be consequences. That part landed heavy, because he wasn't yelling for attention. He was drawing boundaries, saying, don't mistake positivity for being soft. Don't think you can keep pushing buttons without a reaction. But what really stood out was when 21 explained why he feels so strongly about all of this. He called out a bigger issue in the culture, pointing out that a lot of people talking loud about the streets haven't actually lived through enough loss to understand why someone would want out. He basically said many of these voices don't truly grasp the weight of that life. It's not about what someone else did or what neighborhood they represent. It's about personal pain, real losses, and lived experience. That's where the disconnect really sits, and that's the point he was trying to drive home. 21 was speaking directly to individuals, making it crystal clear. He was saying straight up, y'all talking street life, but most of you haven't actually lived it. That's the real point he was hammering home. A lot of people out here flexing about streets, they just around it, know people who lived it or heard stories, but they themselves never went through the real struggle. And because of that, they can't grasp why he's trying to pull people out and steer them away from it. This is a key moment that most people miss. There's a huge difference between being from the streets and actually being in them, between knowing people who did wild things and having done them yourself. 21 was calling all that out. He didn't hold back, saying things like, y'all ain't cried enough, y'all ain't lost enough. That hit hard. You could feel the weight of real pain and loss behind those words. This wasn't just talk. It was someone speaking from lived experience, someone who's buried close friends, watched people he cared about fall, telling others straight up that they don't have the credentials to lecture him or judge his choices. Then he dropped the reality check that really set the tone. y'all better stick to rapping, man. That line wasn't just a flex or hype. It was a boundary, a warning to anyone thinking they can step in and lecture someone who's been through the real streets and is now trying to lead the next generation differently. Basically, 21 was saying straight up, y'all ain't built for this conversation. He made it clear that some people need to stay in their lane and stick to what they know, making music. Because when it comes to real street politics, the weight of loss, and the life he's lived, most of these people simply aren't qualified to speak on it. And then it got even crazier. 21 started calling out people who claim they're street but haven't been active in decades. He said things like, y'all be gangsters on Area 59, which is his way of pointing at the internet tough guys and keyboard gangsters. People talking big from a safe distance but not really in the mix anymore. Some of these folks haven't been out there in 30 years. That's a full call out to anyone running their mouth from afar thinking they still got street credibility. But there's more that makes this complicated. 21 pointed out the geography factor, saying, how the fuck can you tell a nigga from another state what they about? That hits deep, because there's always tension when someone from one city tries to lecture someone from another city on how to live their life. It rarely ends well, and people know that. 21 is from Atlanta, YB is from Baton Rouge. Completely different environments, different street codes, different gang politics, different everything. But at the same time, violence is violence, death is death. And pain is pain, part is universal. 21's argument is that his message, trying to steer people away from the streets and break the cycle, transcends city lines. And anyone who hasn't lived it shouldn't be telling him how to operate. Now we gotta step back and see the bigger picture here, because this beef isn't just two rappers clashing. It's about what it represents in hip-hop culture as a whole. This is the tension between staying 100% real and actually evolving as a person. Hip-hop has always put authenticity on a pedestal, and that's why this situation hits so deep. When someone like 21 Savage, who built his rep as one of the realest street rappers alive, starts pushing a message that seems to contradict that image, people naturally get confused. They start asking, is he still real? Is this just PR? Is he a hypocrite? Or is he actually trying to grow and help people? That split in perception is exactly what makes this beef so compelling. On the flip side, you have artists like YB who refuse to soften their message or switch their image no matter how much fame or money comes their way. There's something raw and authentic about that too. But that also shines a spotlight on 21's choices. And the question some people keep asking, is he being hypocritical? Critics point out that he still makes street music, raps about violence in some songs, and stays connected to people who are still active in the streets. He even took sides during the Durk and YB beef, which adds fuel to the debate. But here's what 21 said during his rant, straight up. I'm trying to change my life. I'm trying to save the streets. That's the core of his message. He's not denying his past. He's saying he wants to break the cycle and guide the next generation, even if it rubs some people the wrong way. That's the tension that fuels this whole situation. 21's message is real clear when you listen closely. He's saying straight up, I'm trying to stop all this crazy shit that's going on. This ain't necessary. I'm trying to be part of the solution. And the key word there is trying. He's not claiming to be perfect or acting like he's fully removed from the streets. He's just saying he's working on being better, and that's honest. That's life. Change doesn't happen overnight, and not everyone sees it the same way. Some people want a clean cut. Either you're street or you're not, black or white, no in between. They don't accept the gray area, and that's part of why his message clashes with some of the fans and rappers out there. Here's the crazy part though. While 21 and YB are going back and forth, while social media is exploding with opinions and arguments, the real world consequences don't stop. Young people in the hood are still facing danger and dying every single day. That's the piece that often gets overlooked in all the noise. At the core, 21's movement isn't about clout or ego. It's about saving lives and offering young people a real alternative to a lifestyle that statistically leads straight to prison or an early death. So when 21 says, fuck the streets, he's not just speaking metaphorically. He's speaking against a system that funnels young black and brown kids into violence, incarceration, and early death. That's the message. That's the urgency. That's why this beef hits different when you understand what's really at stake. But YB and others like him aren't wrong either. It's easy to tell people to leave the streets when you already made it out. When you got millions in the bank, when you can move your family somewhere safe, when security is around you, when options are endless. It's a completely different reality. But what about the kids still stuck in that life? What about the people who don't see a way out yet? For them, the streets aren't a choice. It is survival. That's exactly what YB means when he says, I am the streets. I love the streets. He's not glorifying violence. He's showing love for where he came from, for the people still living that life, and he's not pretending to be above it just because he got famous. That's respect for the struggle. The frustrating part, there really should be a middle ground here. 21 could acknowledge that his message sometimes comes off preachy to people still living that reality, while still standing firm that reducing violence is worth it. YB could admit that even though he's proud of where he's from, the cycle of violence isn't sustainable, and there's value in trying to break it. But in today's hip-hop world, nuance gets erased. Everything is about picking a side. No gray area, no complexity, no understanding that both perspectives can coexist. That's why this beef hits so hard. Right now, we're in a holding pattern. 21 said his piece, YB said his piece, and the streets and the internet are watching. Everyone's waiting to see whether this escalates into something bigger or just cools off. Either way, the tension is real, and the stakes are higher than just a social media clapback. The real danger here is that this could turn into more than just words. Hip-hop has seen it too many times. Beefs that start with verbal sparring end up in real-life violence. And the ultimate irony? A beef that started with 21 trying to reduce street violence could actually spark more of it. But there's also a chance this whole thing just dies down and fades away without further escalation. The truth is, neither of them really gains anything by taking this further. Both of them got too much money, too much reputation, too much to lose. Hip-hop actually needs both of these perspectives. We need people like 21 Savage willing to take a stand and say, we gotta do better. But we also need people like YB who refuse to sugarcoat the struggle and keep it real for everyone still living that life. The problem is, when these perspectives clash and turn into opposition instead of working together, when it becomes a beef instead of a conversation, that's when things get messy. That's the state of hip-hop right now, fam. We can't even agree if telling people to stop killing each other is a positive thing or not. That's how deeply this street life energy runs. But one thing is clear. 21 Savage stood by his message and isn't backing down no matter who's feeling him. At the same time, NBA YoungBoy made it just as clear that he ain't changing for anybody and will keep representing the streets his way. Only time will tell if this beef escalates or if these two can somehow coexist, even with their very different philosophies and approaches to the streets. But one thing's crystal clear. This conversation is happening now, and that matters. Whether you side with 21 Savage or YB, both of them are speaking from their truth. 21's coming from a place of someone who made it out and doesn't want others to go through the pain he lived through, while YB is speaking for the people still grinding in the streets, showing loyalty to where he came from. Instead of just arguing about who's right, maybe the real question is, how do we take the best from both sides and actually make a difference? How do we honor our roots while striving for something better? That's the kind of conversation we need. Let me know in the comments. Do you think 21 is right for pushing the fuck the streets movement? Or is YB right that nobody can tell another man how to live? Do you think this beef is gonna blow up even more? Or will they find a way to coexist? Drop your thoughts below. And don't forget, smash that like button. Share this video with your homeboys and turn your notifications on so you never miss a single story. Subscribe to Rap Uncovered right now, because the streets never sleep, and neither do we. We're just getting started, and there are way more stories coming that you cannot afford to miss. We drop heat every single day, and tomorrow's upload is gonna be even crazier, even deeper, and absolutely unmissable. We'll catch you in the next one, right here at Rap Uncovered, where the truth of the streets lives. This beef is far from over, trust me. Until next time, stay safe out there. And remember, whether you're with the streets or against them, the goal is always the same. Make it out alive, peace.